things theology, all things theology. We chop it up properly without an apology. Gotta get doxology to God hollow, because this is how we do it at All Things Theology.
I try not to get into the Christian and theocratic arguments, but seriously, as someone who grew up in a Christian household, I've been thinking a lot about the parable.
This is very dangerous when you know she starts thinking a lot. But watch her justification for this. Watch her justification for abortion using, guys, this is very offensive, using the Bible. Watch this. And you want to see somebody mess up the story of the Bible? Watch this.
A lot about the parable of Christ, and if you
sorry, before she gets into this, let me say this, and this applies to multiple subjects. Be careful of anyone whose primary when they want to prove a point, they go to historical, like just a story in the Bible, or they go to parables over didactic teaching of the Bible, right? The Bible's very clear, thou shalt not murder. But she goes, instead of going to text like that, she goes to a text that says a parable, and now she twists the parable. Whenever people want to go to twist something in the Bible and prove a point, they often go to parables. They often go to, a historical story. Be careful of people who, and that's not to say you can't find lessons from parables or historical stories, but those historical stories and parables are interpreted in light of the didactic teaching of the Bible. And this is, I'm kind of thinking about doing a video on this, just on how to study your Bible. Because I've often seen the abuses of parables. And here's going to be a good one right here.
You all would indulge me for a moment. For those who may not be Christian, those who happen to be Christian or may not be familiar with the story, it's still a story that I think would be is relevant in general, right? This parable, and the parable is of a woman. A lot of people may have heard the phrase.
You see, the Bible has no confusion on what a woman is, and it doesn't fancy your ideas of gender confusion, but that's nevertheless. So I'll let you continue.
He without sin throw the first stone. Let's talk about that story for a second. In that story, there is a woman.
Sorry, I keep pausing, but I want to. Now she's going to use John chapter 8, which, if you're into textual criticism, you know that this story has been highly disputed, and many do not believe that it is actually original. Like I said, that's a position I hold, and I think there are valid reasons for holding that position. But nevertheless, we're going to actually hear her out, because she actually gets the story wrong in general. Yes, Bible study with AOC. I feel like I need coffee right now.
Who, and excuse me if I get like some of these small details.
And guys, it's not going to be small details. It's going to be major details she gets wrong in this story.
Bit off for generous interpretation, but I'm getting the gist of it here for you all. There's a story where there's a woman, right? She was not allowed to be granted a divorce from her husband. Her husband refused to grant her a divorce. Not that.
Wrong. That's not in John chapter 8. The story isn't about. She's convinced. I think she's confusing two stories, and she's even confusing the other story. It's a bad interpretation of that story anyway. But she's confusing the woman at the well versus the woman caught in adultery. Maybe she thinks they're the same woman. I don't know. I'm not sure. But she's confusing the story. John 8 is about the woman caught in adultery, not the woman who couldn't get in a divorce. At best, that's John chapter 4, the woman at the well. So she says, excuse me if I get a little details off. I mean, you got a whole story injected into this already. keep going.
Time, if that happened, he had control, and that was that. And so, but for all intents and purposes, they were not really together. And there were also the Pharisees at this time, which were kind of very strong. They were strong religious / political-esque leaders. They kind of blurred the lines a little bit between.
But notice how she's trying to even, you know, you can see the point she's trying to lead you to. So that's why she has to throw in the, you know, the political, right? Because why she thinks that. I guess the Pharisees were the Republicans, I guess, in this story. But but go ahead. We'll go ahead.
Politics and religion. And many of these Pharisees were in a physical relationship with this woman.
What? What? Oh, was she? I didn't catch that part the first time I heard this story. That's not in the Bible. But is she insinuating that the Pharisees were having sexual relations with this woman? Because she says they had a physical relationship. I don't know what she means by that.
Many of these Pharisees were in a physical relationship with this woman.
Do you guys think, am I stretching that out? I mean, maybe she means something else. That's very possible. But I don't know what, I mean, we that's generally used in a sexual context. So I have no clue what she's talking about there. No clue, not whatsoever. That's a very strange way. See, even more addition to this story is being added.
Now, let's be really clear about the power dynamic here.
Of course, you're going to get the power dynamics going in.
You have several powerful people doing this. It frankly really blurs the lines of consent. Because what choice would she really have when these people hold so much power in a time like that, right?
Everyone's lost because we have no clue where you're at in the story, AOC, because maybe you should have read the story before you came on a Instagram Live to talk about the story. Maybe you should, I mean, would have been good if you read from the Bible, actually. Maybe you don't own one, but I will send you one, AOC, if you need a Bible. I mean, they have it on your phone, but if you want a physical one, I'll be more than willing. But yeah, none of this is in the Bible. Yeah, none of this is in the Bible. I don't know. Was this the chosen version? I don't know. I you know, no clue what she's talking about.
And so at one point, one of the Pharisees is caught with a woman.
So I think she was talking about sexual relationship. I guess she was saying like this woman was having sexual relationships with all the Pharisees. That's nowhere. Hold on, let me read this, guys. So, chapter 8, verse 3. Like I said, it's highly disputed story, but nevertheless, I'm going to read it. The scribes and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in adultery, and placing her in the midst, they said to him, "Teacher, this woman has been caught in the act of adultery. Now, in the law of Moses commands us to stone such a woman. What do you say?" I mean, I'm reading here. It says nothing about she was caught with a Pharisee. We don't know who she was caught with. Talk about embellishing the story. This is a major L. Yeah, what Bible is this? I'm seriously trying to listen to her, but this isn't in the Bible, guys. This is why you should tell someone, hey, this is a great lesson in. If you're having a discussion with someone, go to the Bible, because many people will remember a story according to what they heard versus what the Bible actually says. Someone said, lift the Pharisee's head covered, and it's actually Bill Clinton. Plot thickens. Amazing story time with AOC.
And she is immediately marched out into the town square.
The town square? Like I said, I don't know where she's getting all this. I don't know where she's getting this. What is this? I don't know, the witch trials of Salem and Bible story time. I don't know.
And she's marched out before she's even able to get dressed. So they force her outside. She's barely dressed, trying to cover herself.
Even that isn't there. I seriously don't know where she's getting this. I don't know where she's got that. That's not even there. Like I said, she's reading into the story. It's a vivid imagination. Yes, I don't see any of this in the story. Yeah, she is really trying to make this good. And guys, by the way, just in case you've forgotten, this is supposed to be proving abortion is okay. She's messed up the story quite a bit, but yeah, that's the goal. Just a reminder.
And everyone is starting to surround the woman, and they're trying to figure out, wow, we caught her with one of the Pharisees.
It's not
how
there.
Evil, etc. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do with her. Are we going to stone her, or etc. They're going through all of the options. Of course,
no, they're not. They're pretty clear. They want to stone her. As a matter of fact, they ask Jesus because they want to catch Jesus. They want to test him in this story. Like I said, I don't believe the story's original, but nevertheless, she messes it up completely. They're not in a circle around her. We don't know what the scene looked like. They're not going through the options. They only have one option. They want to kill her. That's very clear.
Pharisees doesn't really seem to be subject to any sort of similar treatment that she is, even though he was just as complicit. And if anything, he was the one that was abusing power and public trust. And
hold on, let me go back because
complicit. And if
hold on.
The woman, and they're trying to figure out, wow, we caught her with one of the Pharisees. How evil, etc. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do with her. Are we going to stone her, or etc. They're going through all of the options. Of course, the Pharisees doesn't really seem to be subject to any sort of similar treatment that she is, even though he was just as complicit. And
well, she wasn't caught with the Pharisee, so yeah. So yeah. So yeah, your whole premise is wrong.
Anything, he was the one that was abusing power and public trust. And they're all surrounding her, trying to figure out what's
stone her, stone. I just try to imagine AOC Bible Time. I mean, this makes a good version of how not to read the Bible.
Going on, and then they say, okay, there's this. Basically, Christ has, Christ has taken interest in what's going on. They call him over. He comes over, and everyone starts.
He's already there.
Putting their attention to him on what to do. And he starts drawing in the sand, something in the sand, and people come out, and they start to see that he has here written down, let he without sin cast the first stone.
That might be the only thing she's gotten right about the story so far, but I'll congratulate her on that, I guess.
He was talking about the Pharisees. He wasn't talking about her. And sometimes people interpret this story as implying that she was a sinner and everyone else is a sinner. As well, and so sinners can't really judge sinners, like everybody just kind of relax. But really, I think there's deeper meaning to that story, and because he essentially says to her, go forth. And
whoa, hold on. That's not what he said, right? Like I said, even like I said, disputed text. That's not what he said. She stood up, said to her, Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you? She said, No one, Lord. And Jesus said, Neither do I condemn you. Go, and from now on, sin no more. So Jesus tells her not to go live in sin, even according to this story. So just go forth, like keep doing what you're doing. Like, what do you, that's not what it was even said. Like I said, good old story time with AOC. Bible story time.
He doesn't condemn her. The people that did something wrong there were those who were abusing their power.
Not the woman, apparently. I mean, he even according to the story, he does say she sinned. He's just saying, I don't condemn you. So, go murder babies? How is that the conclusion of this story? I'm still, I mean, if you're anything like me, you're like, what's the point of this? Huh? I don't think she knows by now.
There are a lot of Pharisees, those kinds of types running around today, trying to abuse women, trying to take their autonomy away.
Someone said, is this liberation theology? This is what happens when you import liberation theology into the Bible. You can't even read the text.
And all in the name of a book that they haven't really studied that closely.
Oh, that killed me. I don't remember that part when I was editing. The irony. She abuses the story only to come and say, you Republicans haven't really even studied the Bible. And I could almost see the smug look like I have. Wow. She deserves one of these.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
She just gave me a layup. Speaking of Westbrook, she gave me a layup. Exactly, Kurt. Jesus didn't say that the woman was innocent. He simply forgave her. She's completely missing the point. Absolutely. I've never seen a person so unaware of their self. This has got to be a clip in itself.
I believe in a separation of church and state.
Then why'd you go and use the Bible? I don't get the point of you using the Bible only to turn around and say the Bible doesn't have any say-so on how we should run our government. What's the point of the Bible then? Why'd you quote any of that?
I believe that my faith, whether I have it or not, has nothing to do with my public service.
Again, why use the Bible? That just destroys what you just said. That was all that AOC Bible story time was just so useless then.
Because we have a secular democracy. And for someone who says, go forth and sin no more, do you think I see that there's a comment here saying, oh, he was talking to her? Was he?
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, I don't know if she's read the story. So I guess someone on her Instagram and she's seeing a comment, someone saying, wait, he said go and sin no more. Bravo to that Instagram follower or commenter. Bravo. Because that's exactly was he talking to her? Yes. You want to know how we know this? Let me read verse 8. Verse 9. But when they heard it, speaking of the Pharisees, they went away one by one, beginning with the older ones. And Jesus was left alone with the woman standing before him. So it's just her and this woman. By the time verse 10 and 11 come around where he tells us, go and sin no more. Yes, he was talking to her. But what was he? Yes. Yes, absolutely. Look at that grin. Gotcha. That's right. She thinks like, oh, got him. No, you're just making yourself look silly right here. She probably
Was he? It's commonly interpreted.
It's commonly interpreted. No, there's no other way you can read that. He's alone with her. Who else is he talking to? It's just him and her having a conversation by this point. Matter of fact, he asks her a question and she answers, and then he responds to that. It's commonly interpreted. What are you talking about?
Why you always lying?
What are you talking about, girl?
Why you always lying?
Huh?
But read it again.
You read it.
Read it again.
You read it.
We have a secular democracy for a reason. Because having our democracy be secular is what helps us be a democracy. If it's not secular, it's a theocracy. And it allows for just all sorts of horrifying human rights abuses, which is what this is. So, there was
no conclusion to that story, by the way. It just she just got done reading and it was like, well, almost as if it was self-evident of the point she was making, but we have left more clueless on why she read that story. Right? Like, again, that was supposed to approve abortion being okay, but I have no clue why she read that at this point. At all. At all.
And people say, and I'm seeing some comments, and like, I want to make sure that I'm being interactive and stuff like that. I don't want to ignore everything. But, someone says, I like you, but I do believe that the way we believe in things like religion affect our service to others. I agree in that my faith has shaped my sense of morality. It has shaped my identity and my upbringing. But I do not impose my faith on others.
Okay. But Alexandria, I gotta say it, in my accent. Alexandria. Okay, you don't impose your faith on others. Okay, bearing all of that. The Bible's very clear on not to murder anyone else. But you don't even agree with your faith, allegedly. Faith. Supposed faith. Apparent faith. Faith in what? The devils believe. Satan has faith. He believes. In this mere, you want to use that in a mere faith. So what are you talking about?
And, or not, I can't, if I were an atheist, I can't force people to not practice their faith.
But you are forcing people, and you and even more, that's pink nose. You're funny. This whole section has been about condemning fundamentalist Christians. You've gone on for about 10 minutes condemning fundamentalist Christians who think like this, who think like me, right? Who think like a lot of people in my chat, who think like a lot of Christians, essentially, who thinks like the Bible says we should think, right? So you're very condemning.
I can't impose these things on other people. And that's why our democracy is so important. Because what I can do is that while that may shape, some of my perspectives, it doesn't allow me to impose those perspectives on others. And so, I just think that right now is a time that's just real.
1031 Productions. If I were an atheist, girl, ain't you? We can't tell the difference. How do you believe in God, right? a person of faith, whatever that means. And the atheist, right, who rejects God outright, and you both end up believing the same thing. Very interesting. You know how I tell people, man,
Think about it.
think about it. And you know what produces stuff like abortion? It's humanistic religion.
It's called selfism, the fastest growing religion.
Selfism. That's all it is. This is a religion in and of itself, and abortion is their sacrament.
Really, really important for us to stand with each other. And by the way, like, honestly, even like taking all of religion out of this is a small d democracy issue. The vast majority of Americans, whether they are secular, whether they adhere to a faith, whatever it is, the vast majority of Americans believe in a person's right to choose.
We're going to address that argument right here, because her argument is taking the religion out of it. The vast majority of people are for it. Well, some of you may know where I'm going here. Let's use that argument during the antebellum slavery times, right? Imagine a abolitionist, right? Someone against slavery comes and, you don't have to have a slave, but the vast majority of people are for slavery. So who are you to impose your fundamentalist ideas on me, right? Same argument, same principles. She would literally, who knows? She probably would have had, I don't know. I'm not gonna, but to use that argument, it is asinine. It's silly. It contradicts its own standard. If you make majority, if you make might makes right, the majority of people stand with me on this as your standard. You have no way of condemning a lot of the historical atrocities and evils that have happened in the past. Right? People have done a lot of wicked things, and the majority have been with them. So what? I don't care if I was the only person shouting that abortion was evil. That's not my argument. And it doesn't make, having a lot of people on your side doesn't make it okay. So it's very silly. Very silly.
Everybody